Let's take a look at what's behind the cost of living crisis. Now, people tell you all over it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. But there are a few things that I think can be pretty clear as to causing some of the massive price shocks that we're experiencing, especially in the UK. I've just noticed as well that this premium video that I'm about to plug for everybody has 666 views on it currently. So maybe you shouldn't go and watch it, actually, because that's just kind of cool as a metalhead. But no, before I go into anything further, I'll just point to you to this recent premium video that just came out yesterday, where Josh and I discussed the politics of Fight Club, which was something inspired to me recently when I did a segment on people working in Silicon Valley jobs at LinkedIn and such, who just are basically pets. They're owned by these corporations. They have no purpose in life. They spend all of their waking time at work with these people, and they don't even really do any work. And it's miserable and depressing from what I can see, and they're putting all of it out on social media as though, this is the most fulfilling life ever. And it brought to mind Fight Club, and I thought, yeah, let's just have a discussion of it, because, people, Josh and I discussed, people kind of get Fight Club wrong on both sides. It's not purely about, look at all of these people basically radicalizing themselves into becoming white supremacists, which is what some people suggest, because they all end up shaving their heads. This means that they're a Nazi insurgency group. No, that's not it at all. But also, if you're looking to regain an element of your masculinity, perhaps just keep it to the Fight Club element. Don't go off and do any terrorist attacks. I know. Brave words coming from me. Don't be a terrorist. Well, maybe don't go too far.
I'm definitely going to watch that, because Fight Club's a seminal movie of my generation. Surprised you've heard of it. But,
oh, are you?
1999, wasn't it? My era.
I was 3.
Wow, that's disgusting.
It is. It really is. But yeah, no, Fight Club's a fantastic film. Had a really good chat about it with Josh. So check that out if you're a premium member. And if you're not, subscribe and check it out, because we've got loads of fantastic content on the website. Anyway, so one of the biggest parts of the cost of living crisis that we're all feeling the squeeze right now from is energy bills increasing. I'm sure you've probably felt this. I've felt it. Everybody's felt it. Prices keep going up, and there are a number of suggestions being thrown out by the media and so-called experts as to why the prices are going up, including the old chestnut, the classic, it's just greedy corporations. Have you heard that one? British Gas, all these companies, they're just evil. They're just evil, taking advantage of the situation and making it so that you have to pay more because they want to profit more. That's the only factor influencing it, in which case...
Not passing on the profits is something I've heard a lot.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. And in that situation, you can only ever ask the question of, well, if they're so greedy, why is it only now they've done it? Why didn't 20 years ago they decide it was £3 million a month for electricity, if they were just greedy, looking to get as much money as possible?
Because Klaus Schwab wasn't telling them to then.
Well, Klaus Schwab certainly wasn't as influential. Well, maybe he was. Maybe we should go digging back in that era as well. But no, there are obviously economic factors that play into this. One of those mainly being the massive sanctions placed on Russia due to the aggression against Ukraine, the invasion of Ukraine, which of course I don't support Russia invading Ukraine. I think it's a very bad thing, and I support the people of Ukraine fighting for their freedom, as is their right to do so. However, I don't see that it's any of our business beyond that. Beyond just throwing out a few, obviously Russia invading is a bad thing, I don't see much of England's involvement in this at all, especially when it turns out we're screwing ourselves over to fight against Russia, because basically the West, America and England and such, are fighting a proxy war against Russia by just continually arming Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm just letting you throw yourself under the bus and not saying anything. But I like that you got in your disclaimer of like, I'm not pro Putin. Well, I've seen your Putin T-shirt, but
you weren't supposed to mention that, Nick. God damn it! But yeah, so one of the big things that I can see being a big obvious one, which is that for the first time, as far as I'm aware, ever, or since we started recording these sorts of things, Britain has imported no energy from Russia for the first month on record as UK gas production rises 26%. So Britain imported no fuel from Russia for the first time in June, according to official data, and the UK's import of all goods from the sanctioned state fell to their lowest level as restrictions were imposed on Russian firms and individuals, as noted by the Office for National Statistics. Just £33 million worth of goods were imported from Russia in June, which was down 96.6% compared with over the average monthly rate before the invasion of Ukraine. So that's a gigantic drop. That's just straight off the edge of a cliff right there. There were no imports of gas, oil, or coal, and in 2021, Russia was the country's largest supplier of refined oil. But since Vladimir Putin attacked Ukraine, the government has banned the import of certain products and hiked tariffs on others. Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng said UK gas production rose 26% in the first half of 2020, boosting energy security. But obviously not enough, though. Whatever we've boosted right here is not enough to make up for what we're losing out on due to all of these sanctions with Russia.
No, it'd be a great thing if we had planned, because we could be energy self-sufficient in theory, but obviously it's too late now.
Like fracking and offshore ventures and such have been shut down by the government due to net zero targets and potential effects done to the environment. So people who are going to throw out and say like, oh, net zero's not done anything to affect it, obviously it has. Don't lie. Stop being delusional. Yeah. But I mean, my question would be, for instance, if I sell fish and I get my fish from a number of different producers, from a bunch of different fishermen, and then the government comes and bans fishing except for one fisherman, and then all of a sudden they're more scarce and they're more expensive, I have to sell them at a higher price, and because of that my profits go up, is that my fault or is that the government's fault?
Yours.
I knew it. Bloody socialist. Got a commie in the room right here. No, I mean, obviously it's my fault if I'm the one who lobbied the government to ban all of those other fishermen. But if I didn't actually lobby them, it's not my fault. And so, like, the Guardian throwing out it's just evil, greedy businessmen is a little bit
I knew that was
cringe.
the answer you wanted. That's the sole reason I gave the other answer.
I know. Ever the contrarian, aren't you? That northern energy in here is too rife.
Too many northerners.
Can't agree on anything, can we? You a Liverpool or Manchester man?
Well, I'm a Man United fan, and my mum's from Bury, so we were born into it.
No, I just meant which city do you prefer, not football?
Oh, Manchester.
Fair.
All right, good.
Fair. Well, I lived
We've
there.
agreed.
I lived there for a bit, but Liverpool does look nicer. And there are some upcoming dates that you should be aware of in the UK, and this is going to serve more as a little public service announcement right now, which is that the energy price cap, because of the massive increase of cost of living, which is definitely just the evil company's fault and nothing to do with government sanctions, the latest cap, which is for England, the energy price that they are allowed to charge up to, will be raised on the 1st of October, according to the regulator Ofgem. But because electricity and gas prices are going up at the moment, the cap is set to go up too, as it says. This means on average, the annual bill can go up to as much as £3,554 at this point, according to Cornwall Insight. This is 2.5 times what people paid on average in October 2021. And people have also said that, well, you can't entirely blame all of the sanctions and such because Russia was starting to choke out gas distribution in Europe a little bit in the months leading up to the invasion of Ukraine. And that's fair. That's completely true. The prices were probably going to go up as a result of that anyway. I'm not justifying Russia doing that because it seemed to have been an obvious preemptive move before they went to invade Ukraine. But still, all of the sanctions that we've added on top of that have not helped with the situation that was already developing over here. It will be a gut punch for households across the UK, says Peter Smith from the National Energy Action, simply unaffordable and is going to push many more people into fuel poverty. And this means misery, cold homes, debt, and unsafe coping tactics. And this is where I draw the line when it comes to, like supporting Ukraine and such, because it's one thing that it's all awful stuff happening over there, obviously terrible. But it means us supporting them means that awful stuff has to happen over here as well.
Yeah, and
for a lot of people.
You are going to see a certain fatigue on that. Have you seen where people who took in Ukrainian refugees?
The Daily Mail article. Yeah, I saw that.
They're getting rid of them. And they're saying they regretted it. Like, was it a quarter have got rid of them or regretted it or something like that?
That's no surprise to me. It's one thing to say that you're going to do something good for somebody else, and obviously it's generally speaking, doing good things, going out of your way to be charitable to other people can be a good thing, but there is a limit. Like you say, there is a personal and practical limit.
They're citing the cost of living as one of the reasons.
So even if you want to help Ukrainian people, the cost of living is preventing you from helping Ukrainian people. So as always, government programs go in circles, chasing their own tails and achieving nothing. And British Gas as well has actually boosted support to help cut energy costs, and they're going to donate 10% of their record profits to help customers cope with soaring bills for the duration of the energy crisis. And British Gas customers in fuel poverty with less than £1,000 in savings are eligible. A household is considered to be in fuel poverty if it has to spend 10% or more of its income on energy. And the firm is said that thousands of households will get grants of £250 to £750. So they are trying to offset it a little bit, and they're even using their own newly acquired profits to do so as well. And this is kind of interesting because it's the way that private industry can work, whereas a lot of other people are saying that we need to offset all of these new costs by just taxing people more. If you tax the people more, that will give the government more money to give back to them, so they won't be as poor as they would be otherwise.
Yes.
It's
this commie cycle we got into. We got into that because of lockdown, didn't we? Lockdown's responsible for quite a lot of these things, or it's certainly increased inflation and all these things. And then we end up needing to give
of money printing that went on during lockdowns.
And then you end up needing to give out grants and things and windfall and all this kind of thing, don't you? So you're in that cycle then.
Yeah, the government creates a problem, then to fix that problem does something that will later on create more problems. The cycle goes on and on and on until you're in the Soviet Union.
We did an article last night on Headliners on GB about the pubs asking for some sort of help because lockdown absolutely crippled pubs and hospitality. And then, so once the government does that, then you need the government to bail you out again. So
yeah, and at the same time, I don't blame these pubs for doing this sort of stuff, because if the government's the one that put you in that situation in the first place, it would feel like a kick in the nuts for the government to not do anything to help you afterwards when they're the ones that screwed you over. But the sad fact of the matter is that if we want things to improve in the economy, we just kind of need the government to step away from it altogether, as far as I'm concerned. Because just a reminder as well, one of the other things that will be contributing to your energy bill this month and every month, and we always point this out, but it's always good to throw a reminder out. If you could scroll down for me, Michael, just so we can see the graphic breakdown of the bills. Here we go. You can see a nice big chunk of that average estimated electricity bill is government obligation costs. What are those, you may ask? The government obligations are composed of environmental and social tariffs to support the decarbonisation of the electricity sector. Did you ask for these? Did you vote for these?
I did not.
Did I ask for these? Did I vote for these? No. If I had been given the choice to vote for these, would I have? No. But that's why they don't give you the choice to vote for things like this, because people would probably vote for their best interests rather than the agenda, the net zero agenda.
We'd vote to have more money and quality of life. And I'm actively against the environment as well. And who cares about where's my position represented?
I mean, warmer summers and warmer winters in England. Oh, fantastic. We already get terrible enough weather over here as it is. Let's improve that climate a little bit. And of course, we have economists on The Guardian calling for the government action to avert catastrophe. In the run-up to the announcement of the new energy price cap tomorrow, the Resolution Foundation think tank said radical policies such as price freezes, solidarity taxes, or lower social tariffs were needed to prevent the cost of living crisis worsening. And I will say, I'm shocked that a lefty article from The Guardian about, I assume, a lefty organisation, Resolution Foundation, suggested lower social tariffs. I'm shocked. These sorts of organisations never suggest cutting back anything from the government, except they also say taxes, price freezes, all of these things that will interfere with the market economy. And they also said that Liz Truss's tax-cutting plan completely misses the target. Once again, we can't let people keep a hold of all of their money because otherwise we won't have any money to give back to them. It's ridiculous, commie, redistributive wealth thinking. It called for a new social tariff under which people claiming benefits or where no one in the household earned more than £25,000 would receive a 30% bill reduction. Once again, you know, if a company like British Gas wants to do stuff to try and offset the extra costs, that's fine. The problem with the government doing it is they have to use my money that they've stolen from me through taxation to be able to push these sorts of things. So I'm not good with this sort of stuff. And in a letter from the BBC director to members of the government stated over 10% CPI inflation, that's consumer price index inflation, is at a 40-year high. Interest rates are seeing the largest increase in 27 years, and eye-watering energy bills have created the perfect storm of increasing costs. The impact of these challenges on consumers, businesses, and wider society cannot be overstated. And that's fair. That's a fair point. But I did just want to point this out to draw attention to the 10% inflation thing, because even though we're in the cost of living crisis and everybody recognises we're in the cost of living crisis, that's still a wormy way of not addressing just how bad it is. Because Do you feel like prices have only gone up 10% over the past few months?
No.
No, of course not. It's ridiculous, and because of the fact that Consumer Price Index takes a blank look at everything, there are going to be prices that haven't gone up or that have actually reduced that will kind of offset the actual costs that people are facing. And the way to point this out, Binary Surfer, a friend of the show, tagged me and a few others in this, and he said, remember when everyone thought I was doomsaying for saying in Q1 2020 that inflation could hit 30% from the damage done by money printer going brrr, and this is pre-Ukraine and farmers. He did an exercise here where he just very simple, took his Aldi receipt that he still had from July 2021 and compared it to June 2022 to see what the price was. And inflation overall was 43%, just in terms of general prices. And that's averaged out because eggs for 15 pieces were £1.18, now £1.95, 65% increase. Salmon, 32% increase. Spaghetti, 69% increase. And obviously, when you're actually looking at the numbers, they all seem like quite small increases as opposed to the percentage. But this all really does add up. It really does add up when all of a sudden your weekly shop has gone up by almost 50%.
Tough times for Jack Monroe and people like that. Have you seen Jack Monroe? Oh.
No.
She does this whole, it claims to be poor, but some people say it isn't. You've got to be very careful because she likes to sue. But anyway.
Oh, okay. So you're going to keep your mouth shut then. All right. And obviously, once again, as I pointed out, a lot of this is to do with the sanctions that you've put on Russia. A lot of the general price increases have been because of all the money printing, but a lot of the energy prices have been due to sanctions on Russia. But don't worry, Boris Johnson is there to let you know that whether you want it or not, it's absolutely vital for us to continue paying for Ukraine, because we, over here in England, are getting so many benefits out of it. We're getting so much out of it. Just play the clip.
Is it sensible to pay for British taxpayers to support freedom in Ukraine? I say it is absolutely vital, and we've got to continue to do it.
Do we get a say in this?
I don't recall that referendum.
No, I don't either, but I suppose that's just democracy for you. Democracy doing its job as usual, giving power in the hands of the people. And in America, they have the exact same problem where, for instance, the GOP and the Republicans have been complaining a lot about Democrats calling for student loan relief, where they just forgive all of the student debt from the universities, whereas people like Pedro Alcanzaras are doing the base thing and pointing out it's kind of hypocritical for Republicans to say such a thing when they're also sending $60 billion in aid to Ukraine for the last 6 months and do a lot of stuff to support the military-industrial complex over there.
Have you noticed, though, the general Ukraine clamour retreating somewhat? I mean, it like I said, people are saying we regret taking in the refugees, but the general rhetoric of I support the current thing, it's died down a bit, hasn't it? I mean, Usyk won, the Ukrainian boxer, in that fight against Joshua the other night. But again, we didn't really hear anything about Ukraine, maybe because these type of people don't watch boxing. But the rhetoric has dialed down a bit, hasn't it?
The rhetoric has dialed down, but at the same time, the funding continues. We're still getting screwed over here in the West, purely so that our politicians can virtue signal and let everybody know that Boris Johnson probably sees himself as Winston Churchill reborn. I'm fighting up against this evil fascist opponent of Vladimir Putin. How? By impoverishing my own country.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this premium book club, Lawrence Wright's The Looming Tower, The Road to 9/11. If you want to follow what else we're putting out, like me, you can follow me on Getter at @Callum on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.